Hi there. Welcome to ALR 1 Reading Tutor Training. The reason that I am recording this video is because Monday is a holiday, but I don't want to wait to get started. We have a lot to do this semester, and I'm really excited, and I just wanted to go ahead and get you guys started. So what I'm going to do today is give you an overview of our course and go through the online assignments that you'll be doing over the course of the week to prepare you for our first class meeting, which will happen during week 2 on Monday. And so, just a couple of things. First of all, my name is Renee Bothwell. I probably should have started with that. This is ALR 1 Reading Tutor Training. I'm excited to have you in class. We will be going through techniques and strategies to help your peers with their course readings. I do find that many times when students take this class that their ability to use reading strategies and their reading improves over the course of the semester. This is a great way to refine your own reading skills and then help others. Although the purpose is to train you to be a peer tutor, so tutoring another college student, we will, over the course of the semester, talk about how you can use these same strategies with younger children, K-12. So if you are going into teaching, this is a great course as well because you'll get a lot of great strategies that you'll be able to share with your future students. So our weekly course meetings is we will be meeting in Quad 101 on Mondays from 11:10 to 12:35. You will also have to complete lab hours. So this is where you will be working as a reading peer tutor intern under one of our mentor tutors. And you will be required to complete 2 hours a week. We'll figure out your schedule. We'll, work around your current schedule to find time for you to go in and do those hours. And, we'll start probably week 4 or 5, depending on where we are in the semester. If you need to talk to me outside of class, I do have office hours, both in person and virtual. So on Monday and Wednesday, I have office hours from 8:30 to 9:30. These are in person, so I'll be in my office in Quad 113F. You are welcome to drop by. Or I will have virtual office hours, and I'm noticing a mistake right here. And those virtual office hours will be on Tuesday and Thursday from 9:30 to 11. Or by appointment. So if you do want to meet with me and those hours don't work for you, we can figure out a time to meet. I will post a Zoom link for my office hours that is posted on Canvas, and I'll show you where that is. Basically, we will go through one module a week. So each week we'll cover a different strategy or tutoring technique. I will release the modules in Canvas the Sunday before class. So we meet on Monday. So I'll release what we're going to be doing that week on Sunday so that you can get prepared a little bit. I do have on here our student learning outcomes and objectives. These are also in the syllabus. I highly suggest you read the syllabus. And you'll find them there. But basically, the objectives, this is what you should be able to demonstrate or you should be able to do by the end of the semester, is understand and use methods and theories of peer tutoring and reading, and then also apply your advanced reading, critical thinking, and interpersonal skills to observe and facilitate the development and the reading practice of others. We also have learning outcomes. So these are things that you should be able to do. And so that's apply and adapt tutoring strategies and then use the theories and the practices that we talk about with your peers or even younger students. So just a couple of course highlights. First of all, again, as I just mentioned, please read the syllabus. I'm not going to take class time to go through the syllabus, but the syllabus has a lot of really good information. It talks about how this class will work. It talks about my late policy. I do have a late policy where I do accept assignments late up to 1 week at a 20% penalty, but then after that first week, or after that week goes by, I do not accept late assignments. We can talk a little bit more about this when we meet in person, but it's really important because you will be working as a peer tutor, you'll be interning, that you keep up with the course material. There is a required textbook for this class. I'll show you a picture of it in a few minutes. You can buy it. You can get it at the bookstore, you can get it on Amazon, or the library also has a free digital copy that you can check out. I have a link for you in Canvas for that. I'll show it to you. And you're able to check out the textbook for an hour at a time for free. It's a great way to not buy the book, but I will tell you that in this class, we really do use the textbook. You're doing assignments from there. We're referring to it all the time. It's a small textbook, but we definitely use it all the time. As far as your attendance, it is mandatory to be present in class. If you miss more than a couple of classes, it will kind of hurt you as far as learning the techniques, and also if you are interested in applying for a paid position, your attendance, I do expect that you block out this period of time. With that being said, I understand things happen, and so I can always work with you, but just plan to be in class during class time on Mondays from 11:10 to 12:35. Try to make doctor's appointments at other times. You do have to fulfill your tutoring hours. So in this class, you'll be doing between 20 and 22 intern tutoring hours, and those are mandatory. This class you will end if you finish the class with an A or B. You will get a certificate that certifies you as a reading peer tutor by the CRLA, which is the College Reading and Learning Association. It's a certificate that you can use if you attend another college, or it's something that you can show parents if you do decide to go into tutoring more on a private basis. You will be doing journal entries where you're reflecting on what happened during your intern hours. I'll go over that as we get closer to the peer tutoring. And then at the end of the semester, you will have a reading peer tutor intern evaluation, meaning I will be evaluating your tutoring skills, what you've learned over the course of the semester. A little bit about me, because I can't share this in person in class because we missed that first day. It is my 10th year here at RCC. I have taught every reading and academic literacy and reading course that they do offer or have offered here at RCC. Prior to RCC, I did work at Washington Elementary School in Riverside as a resource specialist. And then I also did some educational testing for charter schools and worked with different charter schools to keep them in compliance with special educational law. My background, I do have a bachelor's degree in human development from UC Riverside. I have a master's in education with a specialization in reading from Cal State Fullerton. And then I do have my doctorate in reading literacy and assessment from Walden University. I've done a little bit of research, not a ton, but my research interests include student success at community colleges. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching this class. And then also just providing reading strategies and support for college students. There's an assumption that everybody's a perfect reader by the time that they enter college, and we all need help with reading. We all get distracted. We all need strategies. So I'm very passionate about passing those along. A couple of other things, you can see some pictures scattered around here. I am a mom. I have 3 children. You can see here, this is my oldest son. He made me a grandma back in July. So this is Jax. He's just the cutest little baby ever. Being a grandma is the best thing ever. Here's when he was first born. This is multi-generation. So we have 4 generations in this picture. This is my mom here. I do have a daughter who has been married for a year. She teaches math at a high school in Nashville. And then my youngest son is a community college student over at Cypress Community College, and he is going into nursing. I also have 2 dogs, an English Mastiff and just a general mix. A dog, I love them. I love camping with them, hiking with them, spending time with them. And so they are definitely my go-to to release stress. So before we get into this week's content, I do want to kind of give you a brief overview of the course. There is some welcome material for you to read here on Canvas. And so go ahead and read through this. This gives my office hours, a little bit more about me is in this one, and then this is that digital copy of a training guide for college tutors and peer educators. This is a link directly to the library. You have to click up here, and then that will take you to the RCC library. We'll see if it works for me, but it'll give you the option to check out the textbook for the class. So you just kind of click here and then you can check out the textbook for an hour at a time. I do, if you are going to use that option, please make sure that you're not waiting till Sunday night to get everything in, because there's probably a lot of people that are doing that same thing, but that is there for you. There are also some student resources here that I would like you to go through prior to our first meeting, week 2. And then this is the module for this week. So as I mentioned before, I release 1 module a week. There are a couple of Monday holidays this semester, so there will be a couple of modules that you do need to complete on your own online. But even if we're in person, I still have everything up here for you. Every module will have an overview and a checklist for you to see. It will give you an overview of, what's going on in the module. It gives you some objectives, and then really this is what you should be doing over the course of this first week, because we're not meeting in class. So, again, you can read this, but I want you to read the syllabus. Obviously, you're watching the video right now. There is a task trampoline discussion, so you can get to that from here. You just click on this link, and then there is a little video that I want you to watch, and then you are going to comment on that in discussion form. So we don't do a lot of discussions in this class because a lot of our work is in person, but when we are online, there are some times that I do want you to be having discussions with your classmates. This is a peer tutoring class, and we can learn so much from our peers and our fellow classmates. So you will watch this. You will respond to this as your initial post. You will not be able to see what your classmates wrote until you have submitted your response. I can explain more about this next week, but basically I don't want you intimidated or to be reading other people's things before you're able to give your honest answer. I don't want you to have any preconceived notions of what you're supposed to do. This is a safe space. I just want you to comment. Once you post your initial post, then you'll be able to go back and see what your classmates have done. And then you are required to respond to at least 2 of your classmates. If you want to respond to more, please feel free to do that. And then that will be the discussion post for the week. Going back onto Canvas, I want you to read chapter 1 from our course textbook. Again, here's the link for you. You will be doing an activity from that textbook. As I mentioned before, we do actually use the textbook in this class, so it's definitely well worth getting. It won't be one of those that you buy and never use. And then we're going to do a little bit on SMART goals. So as I kind of went over some welcome material. These are things I would have talked to you about on the first day. Please feel free to email me with any questions you have. You can also come to my office hours this week because, we're not meeting. So if you have any specific questions, you just want to introduce yourself, please feel free to come to my office hours. But what I want to do right now is I want to get into the content for week 1. And the first thing I want you to be thinking about is, what is your role as a peer tutor? What preconceived notions do you already have? So I want you to think about these questions here. So first of all, what is a peer tutor? When you think of a peer tutor, what does that mean to you? What is the role of a peer tutor? What personal benefits can I expect from working as a peer tutor? And then how can we establish a communicative, trusting relationship that meets the student's need for security, belonging, and self-esteem? So when students come to you for tutoring, they might be a little bit hesitant, they might be a little bit anxious. And so we just want to make sure that our tutoring environment is a safe place where students feel secure, they feel like they belong, and they feel that they're benefiting from the tutoring experience. And so what I want you to do now is I want you to answer those questions and go ahead and put your responses in the blanks. You can go ahead and pause while you do that. So now that you've thought a little bit about what your role is as a peer tutor, I want to talk to you a little bit about strategic reading. So strategic reading really just means that you're using a strategy while reading. This is something that I go over in many of my classes, but I want to introduce you guys as peer tutors to this because this is something that you should be passing on to those that you're tutoring. So I want you to think about how you currently navigate your college readings. What is your goal when you read? It can be to understand, it can be to get through the reading, it could be to write a paper or whatever, but I want you to be thinking about what are your goals? And with that being said, what I do want to talk to you a little bit about is reading is not always about speed. We don't want to read really fast and not remember what we read, but we also don't have hours upon hours to sit down and really read and concentrate and reread. So, there's different strategies you use depending on what your goal is. So if you think about, if you have a lot to read in a very short amount of time, you can't afford to spend 20 minutes on each page. However, also, even if you're short on time, you can't afford to spend what little time you have reading something really quickly and not remembering what you've read. So what we want to look at is, how do we find a happy medium? And what we want to do is, instead of focusing on speed or how, fast, how long things are going to take us, we really want to focus on being effective and efficient readers. So what is the speed that we need to read at that makes us remember the most without taking too much time? And so as we go through and we talk about different things with strategic reading, really what I want you to be thinking about is that what we're really focusing on are what strategies can we use so that we are able to concentrate as we read and then remember the information that we read. So college reading really is all about strategy. Different readings require different strategies. So skimming and scanning, again, sometimes we don't have time, and skimming and scanning is great for research, finding statistics, rereading something that you don't quite remember and you need to go back and find specific information. And so when we're skimming and scanning, we're kind of like we're reading a map. We're reading titles, we're reading headlines, we're reading first and last sentences to kind of find that information that we really need to know. On the flip side, there is close reading, and close reading, you need to use that a lot in college. That's necessary for any new material that you need to learn from. So when we are close reading, we are observing each, and this should say each word. We are doing that so that we are able to pay attention to how material is organized. And the way that we do that is we do that by using a 3-step process. So studies have shown that the most effective and efficient readers use a 3-step process. So this 3-step process, basically has us using some pre-reading. It has us using some through reading. That's what we all do. And then also doing some things when we finish reading. So when we pre-read, what we really want to do is we want to activate our schema. Our schema is all the information that we store in our brain. And so we remember more when we are able to tie it to something that we already know. So let's look at each step in a little more detail. So step 1, this is our pre-reading process. This is really important so that we can, like I just said, activate our schema. So a lot of people are like, why do I have to spend time pre-reading? I don't have a lot of time. But actually pre-reading can save you time during the reading process. And so again, we want to activate our schema so that we can remember a little bit more about what we read. So what are some things that we should look for? First thing is, in the previewing process, we want to read the title. The title helps us understand what the topic is. What is this reading going to be about? We then want to scan headings. We want to scan graphics. We want to look for unfamiliar words. If we find unfamiliar words, we can look them up prior to reading because we don't want to stop reading to look up a word because then we're going to forget what we were reading. But we can look up any of these words that we think we might need to know before we actually start reading. We also want to make some connections to the topic. So what do you already know about that topic? What questions do you have about that topic? And then you can decide on what comprehension strategy you want to use. Our next step is this through reading. And so through reading, this is the part that we're all used to doing. This is where we actually remember, or try to learn from what we're reading. So as we through read, we want to make connections and remember main points. We're implementing a comprehension strategy, and usually based on our pre-reading, based on what we saw in the title, the graphics, the headings, we'll decide, do we want to use SQ3R? Do we want to use a concept map? Do we want to, make a chart of some sort? Once we've decided on that comprehension strategy in the pre-reading process, then we can move into this actual reading where we're using metacognition and metacomprehension. Now, these are 2 words I really want you to know. Metacognition is thinking about your own thinking. So as you read, you should be making connections with what you're reading. Thinking about, oh, this reminds me of this, or, oh, I remember this time, or I remember somebody telling me about this, or it was in a movie. And so we're connecting with what we already know, which helps us remember more. We're making predictions, we're drawing conclusions, we're questioning. And then we need to pay attention to, are we really understanding what we're reading? You need to stop every once in a while and ask yourself, did I just understand what I just read? Did that paragraph, did that sentence make sense to me? And that's where we get into this whole idea of meta comprehension, and that's thinking about your own comprehension. We don't want to get all the way to the end of a reading and realize, oh wait, we weren't understanding. We want to realize it as soon as possible, and then we can use some strategies to fix our comprehension. What are we going to do next? And then finally, we have our post-reading, and this is something that you should do after you finish reading. Again, this can take a very short amount of time. We want to recheck our comprehension, and we want to move the information that we read about into our long-term memory. In order to move it to our long-term memory, we have to do something with us. So if you were annotating, you were taking notes, you can review those notes, those annotations, make sure that they make sense. But also that's another time that you are getting that information in your brain, you're repeating it. You can ask yourselves questions. You can ask yourself questions about the heading, some of the strategies that we go over, actually have you make questions as you go along. You can summarize just in your head, what do I remember about what I read? And the reason that we want to do this is we want to avoid something called the forgetting curve. And here I have this nice little diagram on the forgetting curve. And I know it's a little bit small on this, but what you can see is at 0 times, so like right when you're finished reading, you're probably going to remember close to 100% of what you read. But by the time you get to 24 hours, most likely you've forgotten about 40% of what you've read. But if you do something in this area in between when you just read and within 24 hours, you can remember a lot of what you read, and then you won't forget as much. So you might still forget, but then by reviewing it at day 3, you're going to remember even more. And then you can see the curve, what you forget kind of falls off a lot more slowly than it did at the very beginning. So again, that's why it's super important to post read. I know sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to do all of this. Pre-reading and post-reading can take as little as 2 to 3 minutes. But those 2 to 3 minutes that you take on either end, let's say you spend 2.5 minutes pre-reading and 2.5 minutes post-reading, that's 5 minutes. You're going to remember so much more of what you've read. And so you're going to actually save yourself time in the long run. So again, to just kind of wrap things up, this week's activities in Canvas, you definitely want to go to the week 1 weekly checklist. You want to do things in order. It lists everything that I need you to do. This is going to prepare us for week 2. We need to get some kind of basic information down before we start on our strategies. And we start looking at different videos, and we actually practice tutoring on each other. So I hope that this was informative. If you have questions, again, you can visit me at office hours. You can email me your questions. You can message me through Canvas. If you want to write them all down and bring them to class on Monday, the first Monday of week 2, we can do that as well. But anyway, I really am looking forward to getting to know you guys over the course of the semester, and I will see you soon. Bye.